Good evening, everybody. Hope you fine folks are having a beautiful spring day. Hope you're enjoying your beginning of your week, whether you were working or relaxing like I was today. I am back with another edition of Are You In? And tonight I'll be reviewing an album for 2018 that I've been eagerly anticipating to listen to and finally have so I can finally talk about it. So tonight I'll be reviewing Myles Kennedy's latest album entitled Year of the Tiger. Now, you might not know Myles Kennedy by name, but I have talked about a band that he is a part of in one of my other Are You In album reviews. So he is the lead singer of Alter Bridge, as well as the lead singer of Slash's band, Slash with Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators. So he has made a name for himself in the hard rock slash rock genre throughout the last decade. He actually is from Boston, Massachusetts, so right back, right in my own backyard. He has been he's been with Alter Bridge basically for a decade now. Did a couple of albums with Slash in the early 2010s. And he's put out two of those with Slash and five with Alter Bridge now. So I am a huge fan of Myles Kennedy. I really like his voice. It's very bluesy, very sultry at times, but also has an amazing range. One of the best in hard rock, I gotta say. And one that I have tried to emulate in terms of my own voice, in terms of the falsetto and working on your higher range. And I've definitely gotten better at that, and that's helped with, emulating his type of voice as well as some others like Chris Cornell in general. So I have been following his work since like probably 2008, 2009. That's when I first remember listening to him. It's weird. My brother had some of his music on there in terms of Alter Bridge on his PSP, and I was listening to it, and that was around Blackbird, Alter Bridge's second album. So I have been listening to them ever since and eagerly awaiting for every one of their albums coming out. I even listened to a lot of their B-sides, which is, something that I don't do much anymore in terms of other bands, but I remember back that time where I would actually look for other songs to satiate my appetite for this band. So this is Myles Kennedy's first dive into solo work. And I've been keeping track about this and been really wanting to listen to it. And now that I finally have, I'm here to tell you all about it. So this is a hard CD to go track by track with, so I'm not going to hugely do that. This is a concept album, and one that talks about the death of Myles Kennedy's father, which was in 1974 when Myles Kennedy was just 5 years old. The reason why this is called Year of the Tiger is on the Chinese zodiac, 1974 was a year of the tiger. So that's a reason why this is entitled this. And throughout the whole entire CD, it's Myles Kennedy digging into himself to try to understand his emotions about his father's death, as well as you see a little bit of the mom side of it as well. There are a couple songs that take her viewpoint, and it's one that I'll get into later why this resonates so much with me. But in terms of the whole entire scope, let me talk about some of the really cool things about it. So, of course, Myles Kennedy, like I've said, has an amazing voice. And that's not going to change here. If anything, because these songs are a little bit more, how you say, they're a little less structured in terms of instrumentation. So like it's not like bombastic drums and like guitar solos all the time and like heavy riffing and like a lot of distortion. It's acoustic guitars, it's slide guitars, it's there are drums, but it's more of when they are there, it's either more like bongos or djembe, or my personal favorite, something I don't hear a lot on uh, albums nowadays, is brush drums, where you basically have, if you have two sticks, instead of the two sticks, it's actually twine, like metalish type of brush, and like the brush part is very thin. So when you do it on a snare drum, like if you play a snare drum, or if you play a bass drum, or if you play any other types of drums, even the cymbals, it comes off lighter, and you can also brush up and down, making some interesting sounds and very cool light work. Um, and it's something that I haven't heard a lot since I graduated UMass, where a lot of, if you do ballads, you have a lot more um, brushwork instead of stick work. So that's a cool aspect to this. And like I said, because of this more acoustic setting, Myles Kennedy's voice gets to reign supreme here, whether it's low, sultry, bluesy tones or high pitch falsetto, showing a lot of emotion and a lot of range, which is something that's needed on this album, with the lyrics that he's talking about. Because he's talking about something extremely personal, and there's a lot of high moments, there's a lot of low moments, there's a lot of just moments in general that dictate the emotions of what he's trying to set. Um, Even still, even with simplistic, there are more simplistic arrangements on here, um, and that's because of just the instrumentation. But for the lack of complexity of the arrangements, there's more complexity in the chord progressions. Just to name a few, we start off with "Year of the Tiger," and at the beginning, it goes between A and B flat, and then in the actual um, chorus part, you have D over F sharp, D minor over F, A over E, A diminished over E flat, B minor over D, back to E, and then back to A. That's just one out there. You have The Great Beyond, where it just lingers throughout C minor, and you seem like you have a chord progression of C minor, A flat, C minor over B, C minor over D, F minor, B flat, G sus, and G in the verse part, and then you have A flat, C minor, A flat, C minor, A flat, C minor, D, D flat, C minor during the chorus. Still in the other song, we have a bridge part that's C minor, G, A flat, D, E flat, G, C minor. Just so many really cool chord progressions. Devil on the Wall, you have a verse progression of E flat, A flat, C flat, D flat, E flat. So in E flat, you basically have the 1, the 4, and then a major 6, a major 7, a major flat 7, and then back to 1. And then chorus progression, C flat, G flat, A flat, E flat. I could go on. I've written so many of these down, and I'll just go over a couple more really, really cool ones for me. You have Haunted by Design, which is a song where you have the pedal of F sharp major throughout the verse part, but you have another guitar part that emphasizes the flat 7 and the 4, which is the suspension of that key. So even when it's just kind of bland, it makes up for it by going over these interesting notes in said key. And then you have the actual chorus part being D, F sharp, E, D sharp minor, D major 7, C sharp 7, B, B7, A, E, and then back to F sharp. Just a nice little color change. And as a quick overview, the way that sometimes you do minor 7 and major 7 chords, if you do it by half step, there are some key notes that are held, and then ones that are just gone down by half step. So in a D minor 7 chord, you have D, F, A, C. right? If you go to D flat major 7, you keep the F, you keep the C. You go down a half step to D flat, you go down a half step to A flat. So the third and the seventh stay the same, the first and the fifth move. So it creates these really cool color changes that have something in common with what you already heard, but add a new layer to it. And that's what I love about this is because of because the instrumentation and the arrangements are simplistic, doesn't mean that the chord progressions can't be interesting. And that's just a couple of them. Another one more I'll throw out, which I think has just a really, really cool sound, is One Fine Day, which has a chord progression of F, A flat, B flat, F in the verse, and then in the chorus you have A flat, D minor, G, A flat, C minor, F. Now, I've only listened to this a couple of times, of course, and this is a week after I've listened to this, so there may be a couple wrong chords in particular what I'm saying, and I do apologize if that's the case. However, what I want to bring up is for those who maybe don't understand a little bit of what the chord progressions and why they're so significant in comparison to popular music, is that it has a lot of what we call modal changing, or using parallel modes if you want to get more technical. You have a couple of songs where you have stuff that you would use only in, say, C minor, which has a flat third, a flat 6, and a flat 7. So E flat, A flat, B flat. And you might get some chords that are mixed into, say, C major, where you raise those ones up. So, for example, if I heard a C chord, a C major chord, and then all of a sudden I went to A flat, I know that I'm modal mixing because I wouldn't have A flat and E flat in C major. So I have to be changing it over. And they do this throughout the whole entire CD. They have all these mixtures of modals, of going to different keys, going to different modes. And because of it, it makes these progressions sound more interesting. I definitely would love to learn all these particular progressions because they seem simplistic. The instrument, the way that they approach them seems simplistic, but it's some really, really cool stuff. So the music gets me a lot, even if sometimes if you get to a certain stretch of songs, it does seem to sometimes get a little bit too repetitive in terms of the sound. But I would argue that because of these chord progressions, and because of the just the raw motion of the lyrics, it gives each of these songs its own feel and its own characteristics and its own thing, rather than looking at as like 5 through 7 or 5 through 9 as one song. Each of them you want to listen to again. Now, that isn't to say that this CD doesn't have flaws. It definitely does. I personally feel like some of these songs are unfortunately on there to be singles. And in a concept album like this, it feels a little bit weird to have that. So you have a song like Songbird, which is a good song, but feels a lot like a song that's on there to be a radio hit. And it feels weird for it to have a song like that on this album. There's also Love Can Only Heal, which feels a little bit weird as well because it feels like a song that is on there to be a single, which is also a weird case because it's the longest song on the album, and it just doesn't feel like it goes much of anywhere. It doesn't really build much. It has this weird minor sense, yet the words themselves are supposed to be more optimistic, which also just feels weird. And then it has just a good third of this song that just has Myles Kennedy singing "La," and it just again for the length of the song, it doesn't go much of anywhere. So that's why it's another one of these songs that just feels out of place. And then you do have two songs that the instrumentation feels weird, but I can understand partially why it is this way. So you have track two, which is The Great Beyond, and it's talking about, of course, life after death and all these different things. And it has this, it feels mostly like an Alter Bridge song in terms of instrumentation, much more distorted guitar and much heavier instrumentation. And it feels weird, though you can argue because it's talking about something so powerful, it has to have some sort of instrumentation like this. So I can understand that one. But Mother doesn't have necessarily that instrumentation, but it feels a little bit heavier than the other stuff, which again feels weird on this CD, on this particular CD, because gone away are the complex chords, and it's now simpler stuff with heavier instrumentation, and it just feels a little bit weird. So those are my minor gripes, but like overall, this is a very open CD. This is a CD that talks about something so near and dear to him. And yes, maybe the lyrics aren't always, they're not full of like huge imagery or are very like metaphorical or, full of metaphor or similes or, it doesn't have a lot of wordplay. But that's not what it needs to be. This is a CD that's touching on the basic instincts of depression, of wondering about how to get through, when you're feeling like this. And not just for him, but for his mom. Worrying that she will also leave too, and then what do these kids have? Or, dealing with wondering, if this depression will ever end. Or, having all these thoughts. And again, he lost his father when he was 5. Like, that is something that most people can't understand, of like someone who barely has any memories of this person, and yet throughout their whole entire life has never had another person, like, that I know of, hasn't had their father, and that is honestly near and dear to me. I can totally understand that. I have talked about it a little bit before, but I lost my dad when I was young as well. I lost him, albeit when I was 18. So I had a little bit more time with him, but still, I lost him young, and I've been through a lot of these different things of what he's talking about. The ideas of, does any of this matter in the end, or we're blind faith, where you are blindly worshiping or believing in something that you have no idea if it actually exists, where you have no idea if you'll ever meet this person again on the other side. All these different things, all these huge depressional things, but it touches me because I've been through all these things, and even the outcome, the final song, it's a beautiful, it's a kind of happy song in terms of the feel, but it's not like an overly happy song. And I think that's a perfect message for this particular CD, where you're talking. The last song itself is one. The words start with, "One fine day, this too shall fade. You never know. You never know. You never know." And it's talking about, well, first off, the depression. Like, yes, it will fade, but it also talks about one fine day, all of us will be gone. So we have to be there, present, and try to live the best life we can with as much love as we can, knowing that this might be gone. So it's near and dear to me because the depression never leaves. The thought of this person never leaves, and I would imagine the same thing. I could say the same thing for him. The thought of this person will never leave, or the idea that he's gone is never going to leave you. There will be moments of hardship and moments and low points where you're dealing with this again. It's happened to me, and I would not be surprised if it's happened to others. But putting this out in the open and having some sort of solace is always great. So I appreciate this whole entire CD. I can look past any of its flaws, and I hope others do. I will say it does start a little bit slow, but give it the first two songs. Don't worry about those, and just keep going, keep listening, keep trying to understand what he's putting out there. Know that it's a concept album. Know that it's talking about something very, very personal to him, and hopefully you can understand it, whether you've lost somebody or not. But I would say, if you like bluesy, if you like folky bluesy stuff, if you like rock, give it a listen. Even if you don't, give this a listen just for the story itself. If you're an Alter Bridge fan, I can understand if you don't like this because it's not as hard as some of its other stuff. But this is not the purpose of this CD. So give it a listen too. Who knows? You may be able to get in touch with what he's putting out there, and maybe even find an awesome singer that you've never listened to before. I personally think that I don't know if I would want Myles Kennedy to have another solo CD for a very long time, because I don't know where you go from there in terms of solo CD. When you have a story like that, it's kind of hard to go to something else. But I'm really ecstatic that he put out something amazing, and kind of like what Alter Bridge 3 was for me when I lost my dad. Where Alter Bridge 3, even though it doesn't have a lot of uplifting songs, it was a CD that I listened to nonstop and got me through a lot of hard times when I lost my dad, because that album came out in 2010, right around when my dad passed. So that CD for me is what I think this CD is for Myles Kennedy. It's a way of letting go to certain emotions that he's had to hold on to for so long. So hopefully it helps him the way that his music has helped me before, and even listening to this again, it's helpful too. So if nothing else, thank you, Myles Kennedy, for putting out something that can relate to a lot of people. So that's my take, and that's my time for tonight. And I would say that this was the best album of the year so far, until I listened to another album the next day that I'm hinting at for next time. So I won't tell you anything else. Just know that you might be hearing the the album review of the front runner for 2018 next week. But until then, of course, if you like what I do, please subscribe to my channel so you can see more of what I do. Like my video so I know that you enjoy what I'm doing. Comment on other albums you would like me to cover, as well as things I can do better for the next video. Share this with your friends, and honestly, just keep looking out for what I'm going to be doing next. So this Wednesday, I'm putting out another album review from 2017. Friday, I'll have another cover song, and then stick around for Sunday for another edition of 2018. Are you in? Peace.